Hi everyone, this is Anthony Rees from the HP Helion team, and today I'm going to be talking to you about infrastructure as code. So let's start by logging into the Helion OpenStack platform. So we're just going to sign in. And the Helion OpenStack platform is an infrastructure as a service platform. So we'll have a quick look and see what instances are running. Okay, so you can see that there's a couple of Linux machines that are running here, and some other instances that are running as well. Let's just have a quick look at our network topology so that we can see what's currently available. So we have an external network. We have a number of virtual routers here as well. And you can also see that we have a number of virtual LANs as well. So we've got the purple VLAN, we've got a demo VLAN, the red LAN, a heat network LAN, and the default network virtual LAN as well. So in today's demo, what I'm going to quickly show you is how that you can go and stand up a new virtual router, a virtual network, and place a couple of instances onto that particular network as well, and name them all and do it all via code. So how are we going to do this? Well, within Helion OpenStack, we obviously have all of the OpenStack projects, and one of those projects is the heat project, and that allows us to be able to take heat templates or heat orchestration templates, hot for short, and these templates are basically a YAML file of code, and this code describes what we want to actually go and deploy. So the sample that I'm going to be using today is actually fairly simple. So what it does is it basically defines what we're going to be standing up. And the definition will tell us about the security groups that we're going to be utilizing within Neutron, which is our networking area. It also goes and tells us the name of the network that we're going to go and stand up. So this particular network I've named Steve and George. It'll be the Steve and George network. And it also tells us the name of the router that we're going to go and stand up. So I'm going to call it the Anthony router 01. It also goes so far as being able to tell us as well in terms of the instances that we want to go and stand up to. So in this particular case, I'm standing up 2 instances on one VLAN. The first instance is going to be called the Steve instance, and the second instance is going to be called the George instance. Both of these instances will be stood up on to our Steve and George network, and they'll be tied to the external network via a virtual router, which is called the Anthony router. Okay, so let's give it a go. To execute this, we'll go back into OpenStack, and we're going to execute a stack. So let's launch a new stack. Now what I can do is go and choose the file that we were just looking at. That's the YAML hot template, the heat orchestration template. So we'll go and click next. Let's call it Anthony demo for Steve, and actually we can't do spaces. So let's just call it Anthony. Password, and let's go ahead and launch that. Okay, so that's in progress and it's running. Let's go and check the network and see what it is actually doing. So in terms of the network, it has now gone off and it has provisioned a network called Steve and George network. It's standing up 2 instances at the moment, Steve instance and George instance, and they're going to take a little while to spawn. They're Debian instances, and it is already created as an Anthony router, which is connecting us to the external network, from the external network to the Steve and the George network. So these 2 instances will take a little while to obviously to build and to stand up. But just while that's happening, let's go and have a look at what's happening from a compute perspective to our instances. So we're going to quickly check. So you can see the Steve instance and the George instance here, and both of them are spawning. Okay, The George instance has just come up now, and it's now gone to a state of running. The Steve instance is taking a little bit longer to come up. So if we go back to the network topology, we should now see one of our instances is up and running, and there it is there. That's our George instance, and our Steve instance is taking a little bit longer to come up. Okay, so there's our Steve instance up and running. There's our George instance up and running. There's our virtual network up and running. And there's our Anthony router, which connects us to the external network. So let's prove that all of this actually works. Let's quickly go and check our networks. So there's our Steve and our George network. With all of our network identification, it also gives us the subnet which was created, and tells us also the ports that's connected to it as well. And if we go into the compute, let's go and see the Steve and the George instances that we stood up. So there they are there. They're both running. They've been up for about 2 minutes now. Let's go and have a look at the Steve instance and see if we can get it to respond to us via the console. There we go. There's the Steve instance up and running. Now let's go back and prove that the George instance is alive and well too. So we'll click on the George instance. Let's go and check the console. And there's our George instance up and running too. We can also check the log as well. Oh, this one doesn't have a log available for it. So there we go. There you have it. Infrastructure as code. And just as easy as we stood this whole environment up, we can also go and tear that environment back down again as well by simply clicking on delete the stack, and off it goes. I hope you enjoyed the demo. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, as always, feel free to contact me. Thanks very much.